Hello to our followers on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Did I get them all? I think I did.
Yeah.
Welcome to another edition of, what are we calling this? Is this like what's new in Bluecap? Inside Bluecap Live? Ooh, I like that. We've got a very exciting guest with us today. We've kind of figured out how to get Bluecap in here. So let's just get Bluecap going. Welcome to Bluecap.
Oh, hello, Blue
In
Cat.
case in case anybody's wondering, this is our meeting assistant end of our entire platform. The active listener in your meetings that kind of brings you all those good intelligences that we've shown in previous episodes of this. Uh, Today, the topic is assistive intelligence on Overdrive. Bluecap is that assistive intelligence. Um, we're going to show you how all the insights in a platform can be collated by AI and presented to you in a very human way, a very normal way, very natural way. Um, so, Fuad, first off, what is our objectives when we develop these types of assistive intelligences?
The primary intent behind assistive intelligence is to augment our ability, is to augment our capability in doing what we do to do faster, to do better, and to achieve more in less time. Um, I think those are the few things where in our mind behind what we're building.
And I think we've touched on it over and over in the last few days. Is Blue Cat brings the uncommon common sense back into things. It's things that people miss or overlook or don't think is important. Blue Cap has the full picture. So what better? I was gonna say what better person to be bringing you insights right to your landing pages, but I guess Blue Cap isn't quite there yet. Does it pass a Turing test? Everybody wants to know. I don't think so. Blue Cap nodded though, so maybe it did, and I just wasn't aware. Um, so let's jump right in here. This is a sneak peek of what's rolling out. I believe in the next week, Fuad.
Next week or so, if not sooner.
Very cool. So this is the new dashboard when you log into Blue Cap, and hopefully everyone's able to read that. And what are we greeted with here, Fuad? What are we looking at?
You're looking at actually, and it's not time specific. So whenever at any given moment you log in, it would understand the context of that moment, what you have for the remainder of the day versus what you had done. Um, and in your calendar, it would understand the context, what's important, what's not, with other sources of knowledge, dynamic knowledge, such as climate, such as traffic, and other complexities in your business day. And then it will, just like your executive assistant, it will give you tips to achieve your day, your tasks better, or things that you need to be aware so that you can do them more cognitively.
I really like that it's talking about weather again because for about 2 years there it almost didn't matter to anyone, but now it's becoming very critical because I mean we're seeing increasingly strange weather, increasingly drastic weather, and you don't want to be caught unprepared. So having that element factored into what's my important meeting and what's the day going to look like is really helpful. I mean, I could look at the weather network, but the weather network's not thinking about what my 3 o'clock meeting is if I'll be wearing a suit or something that I don't want to get wet. Bring an umbrella.
Or,
Uh,
or Justin, I mean, it's out of the way. I go to Weather Network, right, and I try to map my schedule, and then see, oh, I have an wedding anniversary to attend to, and there's going to be some traffic and storm, and I have a meeting from point A, and I have to go to point B. If this all these different variables, changing variables, could be contextualized to you at whenever it's important to you, that could be that could be really helpful, I think.
One of my favorite DIY projects that I've seen in the last several years is a family member of mine. He redid his bathroom mirror to actually have a screen behind it, and this is the insights he was getting on there. And so, the value of this is huge because people don't want to go looking for the weather, and they don't want to overlay their calendar, and they don't want to put it all together. So intelligences like Bluecap putting that together for them is a boon to someone who's already busy and thinking about enough, quite frankly.
And applying common sense on the context of your meetings, and understanding time sensitiveness, understanding the importance, and giving you small little tips that, hey, among all these meetings, perhaps you should focus on this particular one a little bit more because this. Also giving you a little bit of tips or information from the causation perspective. Really, I think that's enlightening to anyone with context, and with those cues of context, it it really becomes very assistive,
And
I
I
think.
like I like the human touch to it, where it's actually saying it to me. It's not just spitting out data at me. It's interpreting and forming and just saying it in a friendly way.
Yeah, more
So yeah,
human-like.
go ahead.
Right? No, go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say though. So tell me what's going on here with the possible important pressing matters. Now, as I understand it, these are the key takeaways that I've had in previous meetings that I have failed to act on so far.
It appears to be, right, but not necessarily.
Okay.
It's actually considering your meetings entirely from the past meetings, and it's looking at your behavior. If you have taken any actions on these meetings, on particular tasks, and so forth, and um, it's isolating certain things that you haven't really taken any action on, but they appear to be time sensitive and important. And as you interact with this, it takes those into consideration, and it starts eliminating those from the list. Um,
Ooh,
and
exciting.
and in this place right here, if you find them useful or not useful, you can take two actions, create a contextual action from here, or you can suggest that this is not relevant to me at the moment so that it disappears for you. What is important to understand, may not be clear to everyone here, is that none of these things have been, you know, pointed out by us. It's AI listening, observing, understanding our behavior towards them, the context, and then suggesting what I, would find helpful, as an assistant, coming from an assistant.
Very cool, and I like that it's completely hands off in that sense. I don't have to highlight anything. I don't have to tell it. This is extra important. It just does it. It just knows, which is the power of the entire platform. I mean, the conversational intelligence, the emotional intelligence. So that's huge. So we're gonna ignore this for a minute here, and we're just gonna go down to the two other related items here: your business opportunities and risks. How is it extracting what a risk and what an opportunity is?
Um, Common sense, right? Um,
Ooh, the uncommon common sense. I love whenever that surfaces.
um, so it really understands the opportunities from the perspective of new potentials, new deals, new possibilities. We have trained the machine with deeper understanding from conversations, and also it understands, for example, ideas that you come in the beginning of the conversation, and as they progressively change, um, it takes those into consideration and able to assess and then fully analyze and then suggest to you, hey, you actually do have this opportunity that you may not have created a deal out of. Now, same principle applies as we explained earlier on the top, that it does look at your behavior as well. If it understands that you are already aware of an opportunity, um, it will not. remind you repetitively of those things. It does understand those that you haven't interacted with, those that are in the blind spot. Boom, right
Which is
there.
extremely useful, right? Because you don't want information that you've already acted on. So the fact that it can figure that out and sift through it is huge.
And I mean, of course, it's needless to say the complexity and the power of bringing first understanding opportunities and then interacting with the user's behavior and then being assistive to remind, hey, these are the ones that you'd like to perhaps add to your opportunities.
Very cool. And I guess the similar inverse logic is applied to the risks. I suppose this is the more creative one because in a lot of cases the AI is absolutely playing devil's advocate in a lot of these cases.
Now, we really have to take it from the assistive perspective. The machine will give you a lot of context, but the user will have also a lot of context. And when the two connected, the magic happens. Uh, as I mean, that's also applicable in real life. Your assistant doesn't know everything, what happens in the boardroom, what happens in all of your meetings, but they have all of this other information from which they construct the reminders, the tips that you would need, and that you get the cues that you would need. Similarly, here, the risks that you would get sometimes would be, would be very general, but it
Mm.
would be very specific to your case as you'd be able to connect what he's trying to say. For example, in our case, I don't know, Justin, if you got that law uh, action class
It
one.
was there, but it's been replaced by other things now because I guess we've talked about it enough that it's like, all right, you understand the risks.
So, yeah, and I think this is very powerful. You have your opportunities and the risks associated around them with them. If they're visualized together, imagine the actions that you can take.
Well, I mean, let's boil down one that's a bit of a cat out of the bag thing here, since I've just put it up to the entire world. We have discussed a freemium model, and the AI has analyzed that as a potential risk for our business, and with just cause. I mean, a freemium model has expenses, with exposure being the return on that. But I mean, was that explicitly said? That may have been the feeling of that conversation, but the fact that it was able to pick out that as a risk is very interesting to me.
So assistance not only just automating simple vision intelligence. This is broken. This is non-broken. But this is far beyond in terms of understanding our conversations, just like human, and then be able to generate in human language, deliver these insights for us. I think this is transformative in terms of our work, how we conduct work.
Absolutely. So tell me what we're looking at here with our performance overview. I see there's 5 points we're being rated on or judged. Is it judging me?
Uh, I, I th- I take it as more of a coaching that this.
I like being coached. I don't like being judged. So we'll frame it that way. I like it.
And again, we would like to put it from the common sense perspective coaching that, hey, we're pointing these things out, we're giving you a measure, but not necessarily, you have to put your own context to it as well. Uh, so the human part is here, and you have to fusion that. Otherwise, right, it is not
Of course.
um,
If you're not thinking about it yourself, you can't get any value out of it.
now.
So what I'm seeing here is the 5 points are sentiment, engagement, culture, tone, and attendance. So sentiment is fairly obvious. How agreeable, how welcoming was I to these ideas in this week? Attendance also very straightforward. How often did I show up? Which apparently was really awful this week. This is our dev bot. It doesn't know when I'm there or not. Tone is, how are we interacting with people? Are we taking a very aggressive tone? Are we taking a very passive tone? Are we somewhere in the middle? And I suspect the majority of people are probably going to want to be in that middle range. Engagement is how much did I talk during these meetings? How engaged was I with my participants? And, some weeks you might be a listener, others you might be a talker. Now, tell me about culture. I think this is the hardest one to quantify and the most interesting one of them all.
Oh, yes. I would love to dive deeper into that one. Just one step back into the sentiment for those who weren't in our previous live streams. We have a couple of dimensions that we take now to understand sentiment, and another dimension would be added very soon. The couple that we apply right now are the textual data. Um, uh, uh, you know, uh, how you are expressing yourself in text data from speech to text as you convert it. And then we also take your voice, your audio, how you're delivering it. Um, and I know tone comes as well a part of that, but it itself has a dimension within sentiment.
Oh yeah, because that's great or that's great.
The third dimension that we're soon bringing is the passive vision intelligence. When you are making gestures, when you are, leaning back, leaning forward, your forehead has.
Ooh, when I do this halfway through the meeting.
Mhm. So that's being added very soon, subject to, of course, privacy and all of those things. We're designing everything in a way that first, organizations have a lot of configurability, and second, out of the box, we're giving everything in a way that's aggregated, not one to one kind of thing. Where it is possible, and it's there where it's not privacy but data and insights, those kind of stuff. Going back to culture, very very interesting, and quantifying that, what we find that it's somewhat unprecedented. So yes, we probably will have a lot of learning journey as we go. Uh, what we are beginning with is understanding language inclusiveness, non inclusiveness, understanding biases from certain dimensions as color, race, and so forth. As we can understand the events when they occur and the sentiment attached with them, we can quantify the the measures in terms of how many times, as an example, you are saying in the developers and technology arena, master versus slave, for example, whitelist versus blacklist, where you it's very common to actually use allow list. Um,
Yeah, and primary, secondary, allow list, deny list. It's probably more apt to say those things now.
right, and gender-based thing, for example, chairman versus chairperson,
My terrible one is I join meetings and say, "Hey guys," when I absolutely know it's not just guys in the room.
so we're quantifying these events, and we also have other proximity dimensions that measure mood and context, and from there we're scoring uh, uh, how you are from 1 to 10 or 1 to 8, a certain scoring system, and we're comparing that dimension versus all of these other dimensions, and we're trying to show you how you perform across this all these uh, different dimensions here. Tone is one, sentiment is one, culture, and so forth and so forth.
So if
So
I see things growing over time in that culture, I'm doing better. Am I doing better or worse as that expands?
exactly. So you'd be able to compare a custom duration, you know, this time versus previous time. and you'd be able to see what is the delta. And now this would go, for example, this is for for only your purpose. The way the HR or organization wide you'd be using it is where my organization was as a whole collectively this time versus last time, or this department versus that department. Which department needs more help, more coaching?
So we're looking at it in aggregate as opposed to Justin, did 30 faux pas this week.
From the organizational perspective. Um, but from Justin's perspective, he would be able to see his own and be able to get suggestions as well. Hey, uh, what are the things that I could do to improve? Um, Again, going back to the same example, if I frequently use a term that's not gender neutralized, we would be pointing out that this could be that.
Well, and like one thing that I think teams don't appreciate is unnecessary training sessions. So, better targeted training is always great. So this helps you do that. Is there actually a problem that needs addressing? And if there is, then absolutely address it. So these are the tools the management needs to understand how their teams are working and where they need help with. And that's not just a culture thing. That's in the engagement thing. Why is my team disengaged? Why are they having such slow sentiment? And where can I help them? And that's where all these tools are coming from. It's self help and team help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Justin, are we going to show a little bit of more automation from here, such as the the assistive intelligence that's helping me to create a follow-up email, for example?
Yeah, we can
Or
show a little of that. Let me threw a curveball at me. I didn't have anything queued up, but I can queue something up.
and and I think it may be repetitive, but something similar is again automated insights. When I look into a contact, um, eh, would you say that's part of assistive intelligence?
It is. I mean, it's assistive in the sense that it's telling me who people are. So let me pull up an appropriate contact
Because
here.
I think that may be part of the sneak peek too. No,
Well, it's
that's
sort of out. That's already out, but we can bring it up for anyone that's interested. We're on the topic. Why not?
we may have a question. How are we training the machine? Excellent question. Um, so various ways we had to be uh, uh, artists more than scientists in our initial phases, creatively do feature engineering, augment the data. We used many trained models, pre-trained models with large amount of data, such as GPT-3, Google's models, Microsoft's models, and we augmented our data to the extent that we were able to use them to fine tune fine tune the hyperparameters to the degree that we achieved very rapidly to the desired outcomes. And
Very cool.
a lot of field data. So we simulated lots of data. Even till this day, we are simulating the data for creating a lot of specific vertical niche intelligence. For example, healthcare. We have, thankfully, a lot of participants in the care industry where they're continuously providing us human labeled validated data that we're using to optimize our models.
I think that answers the question. So, do you have a meeting that you want to pull up here, Fuad, real quick? Or well, I'll
Nothing.
pull it up. Anything you suggest. I've literally had some of the most top secret meetings of my life in the last week. So I'm just going back. Uh,
Great
da,
question
da, da,
again,
da, da.
Tanya. Um, so, in order to be able to use it, you'd be able to use it from the first meeting, the it would be more and more intelligent as you start using it, but you'd get 99.9% of the intelligence out of the box immediately without any data contributed from your end. Great question, though, Tanya. Thank you. Now, any meeting would do, Justin. Any that we use on any of our meeting as demonstration, it'd be fine. Jerry would be fine again.
Oh yeah, Jerry. Jerry's always good.
Jerry is our PR consultant. Um,
I like Jerry.
well, it's a safe meeting because uh, no business, confidential insight. So you off look. I mean, that question is probably coming from our audience is how secure is your platform, and how are you managing the the sensitive data, if you and we say that we actually um, also serve HIPAA compliant customers who require HIPAA compliant services, that is. So yes, we use the uh, confidential computing and all of those things. If you have any questions, shoot us a message, and we'll share content and give you all the information how we
So
use the data.
yeah, and one of the things I try not to do is show confidential information on LinkedIn Live. That's why I was taking so long here for it. But Jerry being a public facing partner of ours, we can actually go for Jerry. Um, so this was a meeting we had with Jerry when we were first starting up the project. So we were talking about what articles we want to do, where we want to focus on. And let's say at the end of that meeting, I wanted to kind of follow up with Jerry, recap everything we talked about. I can just click AI follow up email. Now it'll take a second because it's thinking very hard about it. And it's going to give me, a starting point with everything in here, like budgetary things, and just a total recap of the conversation. And I didn't have to do anything to create this. Now, I can edit any parts I don't want, so I can take out, specific parts. I can, add things to it. Um, And then this is synced with your email service, so it's authorized to send on your behalf. It'll look like you sent it. It won't be like Bluecap branded or anything. It looks like you sent it from your own inbox.
Amazing.
So it's just more assistive tools to get you through your workflows faster than ever.
So
And
I think that's a great example of assistive intelligence because, look, Justin, I don't know about you again, but I always say this. It takes me a lot of time to write follow up emails. And
yeah, and then we take that a step further. So when we go look at the contact card for Jerry, we can get an insight on who he is. What our most immediate objectives with him are. And, this is great if you're just parachuted into a contract that you're not familiar with. So you've never met with Jerry, but suddenly Jerry's your responsibility. Oh dear. Is he a very positive person to deal with? Has it been contentious? Uh, who is he? Who does he represent? What are the five most important things I need to know about the conversations we've had with Jerry? Uh, how does he feel about our competitors and our products? You know, what have been the outcomes of past meetings with Jerry? It's which you can see here all in one spot. So it's all just putting the right information in front of you at the right time, which, quite frankly, is now immediately to help you get through workflows.
brilliant.
So, what else? What else is coming for it? I'm going to ask you this.
Well, a lot of the things are coming, but I think for today,
Come on, give me some tidbits.
mm, some of the exciting things I think our audience would be interested is we're bringing digital world kind of into the physical world, bringing a lot of this intelligence that you'd love in all of the meetings that you do. So imagine having Bluecap in your boardroom. Imagine having Bluecap in a hybrid meeting where you have to do less as well. So yeah, I
Ooh.
think what we're doing is we're partnering with TCC, and we are bringing a lot of sensors and cloud intelligence or Bluecap intelligence. As you walk in into the boardroom, it would understand your intent, your context, and would try to facilitate some of the things that traditionally you and I would do to, from right after walking into the boardroom, starting the computer, starting the meeting, and then taking out notes and all of these things, and then taking notes. Um, Imagine hands free. You just proceed with your intent, and it understands who you are, what your intent is in terms of next action that it could help you with. And then as meeting starts, it starts taking all these notes. And not only that, during meeting, you'd be actually getting real time recommendations, depending on context, of course. If you are missing out on something, if I apologize, that's a phone call. If you are, let's say, saying certain things that you shouldn't be saying, so you'd be getting a private nudge. Hey, Fuad, tone it down a little bit. Um,
Ooh.
ooh, right.
And then
Um,
a couple days after the meeting, it's going to tell me, "Hey, did you do this super important thing from the meeting?" And I'll probably be like, "What super important thing? Remind me."
so and some few other things that go hand in hand with those is that real-time interactions with Bluecap. You'd be able to actually ask it to do certain things like, hey, leave the meeting and return after 10 minutes because you want to have a confidential moment. um, and few other things that you could probably imagine now with that in real meeting context, if you had an assistant, what are some of the functions would be,
Mm.
such as, hey, take specific emphasize on certain specific parts of
Am,
the meeting.
am I going to be able to say blue cap stall them for 5 minutes? Come on. Come on. Make some
Right.
small talk,
um,
blue cap.
well well, this is where it comes, where our blue cap would be entertaining the guests when the
Ooh.
host when the
I've
host would
heard. I've heard blue cap is an excellent juggler. Is that true?
it is. It is. And you're soon to see it. And what's most important is you'd be able to actually interact with it, as the meeting is starting, and Bluecap would be proactively interacting with guests as well. So for example, let's say, hey, as you're passively waiting in the meeting, and Bluecap sees that no one's talking, it would prompt you first for your permission if you were okay for a joke, um, until so, yeah. So
So basically, you're how much does a polar bear weigh? Enough to break the ice, right? Right. Well, that's
yeah,
all very
well,
cool, and I guess we should probably stop letting the cat out of the bag on all this stuff, so we actually have content for future casts. So, why don't we call it there? Because this is all very cool, and if anyone has any final questions, let us know. Otherwise, please try the software out. 30-day free trial for anyone that comes to our website. Uh, it will change the way you conduct meetings, and it will make your days that much easier.
and your relationship, your
And your
future.
relationships, yes. The story of everyone will be told to you.
Well, thank you
Alrighty,
so
thanks
much for
everyone.
that.